what comes to your mind? Just with your own classroom experience, learning style.
Tactile.
Tactile. Okay, so you automatically think of how students learn.
Visual.
Visual.
Auditory.
Auditory. Now they're listening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's basically how students learn, how they interact with the world around them to create their own, how they interact with it, how they learn with it. So if you look, one of the things that this reading brings up is in a traditional school setting, what learning style do we usually target? We usually go to in a traditional classroom setting. Auditory. We're doing it right now. I'm not really allowing you to create anything yet. I'm just telling you this is what it's going to be. So we're doing auditory right now. And then, you know, of course, we go into observing classroom behaviors, what the teacher possesses, and here are the primaries. Tactile kinesthetic, which we talked about. The aim range, they're usually, you know, pre-K through second. That does not mean that a third grader or fourth or fifth grader or even a high school student won't learn best by actually touching the science experiment. It just means primarily that's where we are. I mean, you walk into a kindergarten and a kindergarten classroom, and what do you see? All around you, everywhere. Kinesthetic. They're singing, they're playing, they're interacting with the beads. They get to count out how many beads they have. You go to upper elementary, third, fourth, fifth grade, they still have that, but their primary is what? Auditory, visual. It's moved from the concrete to the abstract for them, right? And then of course when we get to high school, it kind of depends on what content area you look at. So for world geography,
Right.
where would you place most of your?
Still auditory and visual.
Yeah, it's still very much auditory visual. So what I'm hoping to give you today is some tools that you can use to hit those kids that what I consider my digital learners. That they kind of need that instant gratification. They need to create it for themselves and then be able to go back to it and edit it. And so that's what we're going to interact with today. And then of course, you know, it talks about the auditory, which we talked about listening to cassette players, listening to the teacher, visual. And then if you would, there is a quick little assessment piece that I kind of always like to look at. I use it in a shorter, condensed version in my class because the very beginning of the year, come August, I mean, between IRIs and individual reading inventories that I have to do to find out what level reading they're on, I don't really have, I mean, there's not like a tool that I can use that will show me, oh, Camilla is more of an auditory learner, so for her, I'm going to need to target lessons this way. Or for Teresa, she's more a visual learner, so I need to get her to go into maybe EduBlockster, because it's a visual online poster that she can see and she can manipulate. And so, for me, I like to use this inventory, and of course I use it in the condensed version. You'll see why when you click on your own learning style, and there's a multiple intelligence teacher inventory. And I use a condensed version with my students because when you click on it and you scroll down, it's got a whole lot of questions you need to answer. So what I'd like for you to do is we're going to go a little low tech. We'll use that term low tech. On your storyboard paper that I gave you here, flip it over. And I'd like for you to go ahead and go through this inventory and do the tally mark system. So if you really enjoy books, you do a tally mark on yours. I hear words in my head before I write, read, or speak them, tally mark. So you're going to read through each of these, and then when you come to the end, it'll ask you for a total. So of course, total your tallies, and then go to logical, and then spatial, polykinesthetic, musical. Yeah, my musical learners, I'm sorry, I'm not much of a singer. I I can find some music for you. You can probably hit it that way. The interpersonal and then the interpersonal. So if you go ahead and go through and take the inventory for me, I'll give you a couple minutes.